people were making gaps on the pit lane, and I just missed out by a couple of seconds.
So disappointing. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Hugely disappointing for Sergio Perez. Short circuit, not much room to try and build a gap. We see it in Monaco, we see it in Budapest, we've seen it here as well, and by 1 second he failed to get to the line in time before the checkered flag came out to start his final flying lap. We're still under red flag conditions here. The session stops while the track gets swept. And what's going on down at Alfa Romeo? Antonio Giovinazzi. This weekend.
This session building up nicely, Nico. Another red flag, though. Not ideal for those that would have been out on the track when the red flag came about.
Yeah, definitely no. That's going to be a really messy end to the session. Let's see if there's how many people still have new tyres left now to be able to get another lap in at the end. And gutted for George as well. He was on such a great lap and then just carried too much speed. His car is still in one piece, huh? So maybe he can have another shot at it.
Well, we're certainly hoping so. While we're talking British drivers, Lando Norris, where's his pace gone this weekend?
Yeah, it's weird, huh? It's weird. Because Ricciardo in front is showing what the McLaren can do, and usually Lando is at least there or has been even, 3, 4, 5 tenths up from Daniel. So it's very strange. Don't know what's going on there.
And when we get to the battle for pole, Verstappen and Hamilton separated by 7 tenths at the moment, but that was Verstappen on new tyres, Hamilton on used tyres, or slightly older tyres. Do you still think Verstappen's got a massive pace advantage, or is it closer than we think it could be?
Yeah, it might be closer than we thought, but I still think it's all in Verstappen's hands. Huh? I mean, he's driving incredibly brilliantly out there. The car is perfectly suited at the moment for him. You can see it how he's entering, especially like turn 3, that high-risk corner. We saw the speed trace comparison there. I mean, the speed difference was huge compared to Lewis. So I think it's still Verstappen the favourite.
Thanks, Nico. We'll be back with you a little later on. We are going to be back with cars on track in 1 minute's time.
Pierre Gasly, I mean, he just goes under the radar and does his thing, doesn't he? Just always pulls it out.
Why does he go under the radar? Because he does it so frequently.
Because we should talk about him more, maybe.
I tell you what, we'll talk about him more in a moment after Ted.
Jensen, the Gazman in the Gazmobile. We talk about him loads.
We've been gassing about Gasly for years.
Haven't we, eh? Maybe not this weekend, you're right. Nicholas Latifi, first one lining up at the end of the pit lane, car number 6 in the Williams. He wants to give it another go. Haven't seen George Russell, although they have put the dusty front wing back near his car if they do choose to go on. Looks like it's a brake drum problem on the front right of Giovinazzi's Alfa Sauber.
Someone's got the big hammer out, Ted. Can you hear it?
No, I can't. I can only hear Latifi's engine from where I am. I'm standing right next to him, as you can see on that shot. But Lando Norris, I mean, he does have the old Mercedes engine, doesn't he, after the one that he took a spin and a knock with at Eau Rouge is being investigated by Mercedes. So that could be part of it. I think it's more to do with just the handling of the car in the middle and final sectors. That's where he's losing 2 or 3 tenths to his teammate Ricciardo. Second car out is Max Verstappen, and I'm sure over Latifi's engine noise, there'll be a cheer when he goes out. Indeed there is.
And George Russell is out of qualifying. He's walking towards the media pen, and we'll hear from him in a few moments' time. The red flag bought Williams a little more time to try and make sure that car was fit enough to get on the track, but not enough time, too much damage.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? But it happens. But no, it gives Norris the opportunity now to go and run and see if he can jump into that top 10.
And gives Nicholas Latifi the most excellent of excellent chances he's had yet to out-qualify his teammate.
He was at the end of the pit lane and it looked like he was on used tyres, though.
Nicholas Latifi coming out, on tyres that have been used before, but he will have been out on the track when George Russell had his accident. So not used in anger for a full lap.
But it's going to hurt him. He needs everything. He needs everything out of those tyres and that car to get in the top 10. So it's a shame for him too.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. Track conditions might just have changed a touch as well since we were last out there. The red flag was thrown some 11 minutes ago.
I mean, you do get more dust when you're not driving on the circuit, when it is this windy. You know, we have beaches very close to us. We have gravel traps. There will be more dust on the circuit now, so I'll be surprised if it's as quick as it was before the red flag.
Are you surprised that Lewis Hamilton is coming out onto the track?
No, I think that he has to get out there just in case. I'm surprised that Max is out on track, but I guess he's got so many sets of tyres that he can.
And has the ability, of course, to cancel any flying lap should he not need to cross the line. Right, here we go with Nicholas Latifi then. Jenson Barton, you work as an advisor with the Williams team. You know Nicholas Latifi well. Take us through this.
I do. He's up through 1A and into turn 2. Nicely there, over to the right-hand side. Well, he's taking a narrower line than most people through there, and it hurt him a little bit on the exit. Bit of a snap of oversteer. He's not turning the car as well. Through the flat-out left-right, easy. Don't really think about that as a driver. Then over the brow of the hill into this blind, long right-hander, super quick. Just a little bit of throttle lift through there. Oh,
that's another Williams, and that is a bigger impact. And that's Nicholas Latifi, very much out of qualifying, and that is another red flag. And I dare say that could be this session not resuming as well, because there's only 1 minute and 38 seconds left on the clock. But first and foremost, let's hope Nicholas Latifi's okay.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, fine.
That is a big impact for Nicholas Latifi. Latifi, he's okay. He'll be winded. He'll be a little bit battered and bruised. He's out of qualifying, as is Yuki Tsunoda, Lando Norris, Lance Stroll and George Russell, because the session will not be resumed. The bottom 5 won't get the chance to get out of qualifying because of this accident, and a big accident as well.
That is a biggie, and they're always biggies when you go off and it just connects and it doesn't move. It stops suddenly. That would have been a big amount of G-force.
Lando Norris out of qualifying. No Q3 for Lando Norris this weekend. He escaped Q1 by 4/100ths of a second. He didn't get a chance for a final flying lap because of our second red flag of this session. The pace has just disappeared for Lando Norris this weekend.
It's so strange, it really is. But as you said, the wind's picked up. It could be lots of different things, but I definitely put it down to the wind and maybe the way that he drives the car. He's very aggressive under braking, very strong under braking. I think that's hurting him.
Let's have a little look then as he drops downhill into Skyflock.
He's already put a wheel on the dirt there. He's right on the edge or just over, and he does the same thing here. He just gets a wheel on the dirt on the turn-in. There's a car on the inside. It never helps because it kind of disrupts your direction of vision into that corner. And he's gone a little bit too far to the left-hand side, put a wheel on the dirt, and that's what spun him round.
Turn 8, we get to Latifi, and as soon as the rear got away from him, he was heading towards the scene of a barrier. That's a lot of damage to that car as well, and you always have to hope, as we did with Carlos Sainz today in FP3, that the gearbox has survived that impact.
Yeah. I mean, that is a big impact. They never look like much, those accidents, when you hit the side, but that's a massive amount of G-force, and you can't imagine how much that hurts. It feels like everything's being ripped off your bones, like, you know, into the wall, and he'll have a headache for a day or two after that.
So Latifi gets out, and we hope that he won't be hit by a 5-place grid penalty to go with it. We'll see how the gearbox is overnight. He'll climb into the medical car, and that's his qualifying over, along with his teammate George Russell, Lance Stroll, Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda. Means that Antonio Giovinazzi gets through the Q3 and Verstappen the fastest here at Zandvoort. Nicholas Latifi into Q2 for the second weekend running, hoping to get into the top 10, pushing too hard, and that was the result of the accidents down at turn 8, about 140 miles an hour, and going backwards into the barriers, and that after his teammate George Russell had crashed at turn 13 and approaching the final corner. Russell out too, we can hear from him now. He went straight to the media pen when he knew he couldn't take part in the rest of qualifying, and he spoke to Natalie Pinkham.
Well, George, so disappointing and pretty sort of dramatic finish there to Q2. Just talk us through what happened with you, because you were pushing so hard and it was looking so good.
Yeah, it really was. We weren't quite on the pace this weekend as much as we would have hoped, and I was on a really, really good lap, but I came up the penultimate corner, tight right left, and my tyres were going. I was just pushing too hard, and ultimately I just attacked that last corner too much and lost the rear. So yeah, really sorry to the team, because that's not how we want to end our qualifying.
We hope that you might be able to get back out with the red flag. It wasn't to be. How much damage is there to this car?
There's a bit of damage on my rear suspension, so there shouldn't be any penalties, no issues, nothing the guys wouldn't be able to fix overnight. So as I said, sorry to the team, because I mean at that point it would have promoted me into the top 10. How that would have panned out later in the session, I don't know, but I think yeah, I just felt like I had to go for it and see what I could have done, but not how I want to finish my qualifying.
Waiting for confirmation, but it doesn't look like the session will be restarted, so no one can improve on the times that they did before your crash. So it means that Norris and your teammate will both be out as well. It's sort of tricky going into the race at a track that you can't overtake at in such a position, but what are your thoughts about that tomorrow?
It's a circuit that you will really struggle to overtake, but nobody knows how the tyres are going to react. There's so many right-hand corners on this circuit, so that front left tyre and the rear left tyre is going to take an absolute pounding. So that's going to make it really tricky. Some people have kept 2 medium tyres for tomorrow. Maybe they're thinking of a 2-stop. Some people haven't. They're still maybe thinking of a 2-stop, or maybe people are going to risk it and go for the 1-stop. Because it's a new experience, and we only did 12 laps in a row on Friday. We've got 72 tomorrow, so we don't know how that's going to pan out.
Okay, we'll go well tomorrow. Thanks for your time.
Don't forget, George Russell gets a free choice of tyres to start the race tomorrow, starting from P11. So actually, that might be, in terms of strategy, a very good place to start from. That was the wreckage of Nicholas Latifi's car as he then walks to the medical centre. We can head down to the Sky Pad and Ant.
Yeah, what could have been for Williams? I mean, it's amazing how quickly things can turn around in racing. Never fails to surprise me, and yeah, this was certainly a surprise for George's teammate Latifi here. You can see on turning how close his wheel is to the left-hand side of the track, and also watch out for the angle of his head as well. You can see how tired he's getting. Look, his head leans right over at that moment, and I just wonder if it was just, you know, that lack of concentration. Just wind it back a little bit for you. He's already struggling through turn 7. Look, leaning on the headrest, and it's just you're not quite in control when you're physically aching and finding it hard like that. The off-board shot, as Jensen rightly picked up, shows the moment where his left rear gets onto the grass. That's the shot that we're looking for. Just zoom in for you there. Clearly on the grass there, and also sparking on the front wing. So such an unfortunate moment for Williams, just in a couple of minutes gone by in qualifying. Back to you, Crofty.
Thanks ever so much, Ant. We're waiting for the start of Q3. We'll have a 5-minute notice.
Cars with the blankets on for a very long time.
Sorry, Jonathan, what do you mean?
Two Mercedes are doing what we have been warned about previously, which is holding the car with blankets over.
Okay, I'll get our tech boys to have a look.
They're certainly not looking for a gap on the track.
Understand, thank you.
Right, so this is the Red Bull pit wall, having a little look into the Mercedes garage and raising their concerns about holding blankets over the tyres for too long. Now, the FIA have told teams they're not allowed to do that. Affects pressures in the tyres, affects tyre temperatures as well. The tyre temperatures are monitored whilst the tyres are in the blankets. Sometimes you might want to bring those pressures down or up to suit whatever the ambient temperature is. And Well, what a race control. What does Michael Massey do about that sort of situation?
Yeah, it's tricky. So just for people that don't know, there is a minimum tyre pressure that you can have with these tyres, and you always want to be lower than that tyre pressure. That's why they do such slow out laps, so they don't raise the pressures too much and don't put too much temperature into the tyres.
So the minimum tyre pressures for this weekend, it's all dictated by Michael Massey and his race director's events notes. Christian Horner is with us on the Red Bull pit wall. Do you think Mercedes are up to something there, Christian? Was that the inference of that message from Jonathan Wheatley, your sporting director?
Well, you know, obviously we've had it pointed in our direction on numerous occasions, so there's stringent rules now about tyre blankets and holding them because of the criticality of the pressures with the Pirellis. So I think he was just bringing that to Michael's attention.
Christian Jensen here. Fantastic lap by Max in Q2. What was the reason for going out at the end? Just for him to have another run, and he's got a set of tyres anyway?
Well, yeah, I mean, the wind, you know, is moving around a bit, and we think that's maybe what caught George out. So we just wanted him to go out and have a little look before Q3. So it was a bit of a sight. He was up actually in the first sector, but then unfortunately the red flag. But yeah, that was the reason behind it.
5 minutes notice will be given before the start of Q3. We've seen 2 red flags already. Wouldn't be at all surprised if we got another one. Is this all factored in to your run plan for this qualifying, where banker laps might just be a necessity because of the risk of red flags here?
But you've got to get a lap in, so and then obviously then the pressure then either accelerates or decelerates on the second lap, but you want to get a banker in. So I think everybody, obviously, with 2 sets available, will be looking at getting out and getting on with it, I would thought.
I'm not surprised. Christian, thanks ever so much for joining us. We'll be back with you throughout the race tomorrow, I'm sure. 21.5 PSI, the minimum pressure for the slick tyres at the front, 21 PSI at the rear, which I'm sure is a few PSI more than the teams would like, because the less PSI, the more the tyre could be a bit squat and have more contact patch with the ground. A bit more squashy, is that the word I'm looking for?
And less overheating.
And less overheating. Out on the North Sea, boats are bobbing around as the parties start there. They are a long way offshore. You'd almost be doing broadcasting pirate radio in the 1960s from that distance off the shore here. Ted Kravitz is in the thick of the action, though, Ted.
I am, yes, with DJ Bingo, or whoever this guy is with the red jacket, who's getting the crowd.
Hey, it's DJ Tiesto tomorrow, Ted.
Oh, is it? Right, excellent. Yes, my favourite of all the Dutch.
During
DJs.
the Notebook, Tiesto will be serenading you.
Okay, good. Yes, if you keep going that way, you'll reach Lowestoft, at that shot you were looking at earlier. So. It's a long swim, so I wouldn't recommend it. But I've asked Mercedes if they have any response to what Jonathan Wheatley was saying. I was almost surprised that Michael Massey, the race director, had to ask which team Jonathan Wheatley was complaining about. But you know, I mean, listen, it's fair's fair. If Wheatley believes that the one rule is not being applied to all the teams equally, then he has absolutely a right to question it. But I haven't got a full response from Mercedes. Maybe we'll catch that up later. But just a thought on why we saw both Williams off there, Crofty. It was always the way, wasn't it, earlier this year, that they have this sort of peaky downforce, don't they? It works in a wind tunnel, they get good figures on it, but when it's in traffic or in windy conditions, it does tend to go away in a very sort of unexpected way from the drivers. I think they've done a lot of work to fix that over the year of Williams. And, you know, the last time out, the qualifying of George in Spa kind of proved that. But you think it was that caught them out? Maybe Jensen got a view on that as well?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, with Latifi, it was him putting a wheel on the dirt. Yeah. But no, it is tricky out there, and the guys always say that the car is a little bit trickier in the windy conditions. But I personally feel with Latifi, he's trying to get everything out of the car. It's the only way for him to get through to Q3. You had the car on the inside, it didn't help his eye line looking into the apex, and he's just steered a little bit too far left. I mean, you'd look at it and you go, well, why did he do that? He should have kept away from the edge of the circuit, but he's almost, you know, he's doing 160 miles an hour at that point.
Ted, this is your 4-minute warning. Before we start Q3, you can go back to the Redcoats and DJ Bingo for a while, and to your serenade. They were playing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer to a dance beat a little while ago. that got us all going, it has to be said. Out on the track, though, we did see at the end of Q1 some very slow-moving cars. Sebastian Vettel was on a flying lap. This is the scene that awaited him going into turn 13 as Mazepin cut across and blocked him, and Mick Schumacher, Mazepin's teammate, was right there as well. The two Hasses went out in Q1, as did Sebastian Vettel. Let's hear from him now.
Moment where you got held up by the two Hasses?
At that stage, not much I can do, but overall we didn't have the pace, and I think when we were on track, we were not quick enough. So for sure we could have timed the last run a bit better, but yeah, overall, obviously disappointed.
And surprising, presumably, because I would have thought.
Good luck.
Surprising the lack of performance.
Yeah, I think in the practice sessions it looked okay, but we didn't make a step in the afternoon.
Bad luck, thank you. Nikita, just tell us what happened with Sebastian.
Yeah, well, a disaster happened. As you know, in Formula 1 teams, one weekend you're the first car, next weekend you're the second. So I was meant to be the first car this weekend, which normally gets the track priority and is able to dictate the pace for the outlap around the drivers around, but your team driver isn't able to overtake you. Well, it happened the second time that he overtook me, backed me up, and me into Seb. So yeah, I'll have a word with the team to see why that happened.
Okay, thank you.
So an explanation from Nikita Mazepin as to why there was a bit of a kerfuffle going on between the two Haas drivers, but that is absolutely no consolation to Sebastian Vettel. I don't think the stewards are going to accept that either.
No, they're not. I mean, having teammates together on track that close is never a good thing anyway.
Nope.
But they should be informed on a car on a flying lap. They should have moved out of the way or judged the timing a little bit better.
Can I just, in a bid for some common sense, just say it's about time people stopped trying to make a gap in Formula 1, because we get this all the time. Why don't the drivers just say, look, we're all being done by this at some stage, should we stop doing it?
Well, the problem is you need to get a gap, though. They can't follow a car through the last corner and in the turbulent air. The problem is these days, if you're within sort of 3 or 4 seconds, you're getting turbulent air.
Yeah.
Hopefully this will change a little bit next year. It will help, but yeah, you're getting very affected. And the problem is you also need to be out right at the end of the session. We've just seen that. You know, the last car has the circuit in the best condition. So there's a lot of risk and reward in the last part of qualifying, but they have to go for it.
Right, so top 10. And we've had 6 red flags in 4 hours of track action in terms of F1 here in Holland this weekend. Who knows? We might just get more in the Q3 session. It's all very tense down in the garages because there's nothing that Toto Wolff can do to affect things from here on in. It is down to the drivers on a driver's circuit, on a real racer's circuit, as Lewis Hamilton described it yesterday. We have a top 10 that includes Antonio Giovinazzi for the first time since Monaco, and the second time this season. 2 Alpines of Ocon and Alonso locked at 6 apiece in the qualifying head-to-head. 2 Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz, and Leclerc has been looking very pacey and very racy in this session. 1 McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris's pace has disappeared, but Ricciardo is right in the mix of it. 2 Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas, and 1 Red Bull and 1 AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly and Max Verstappen. Now I know who the majority of the crowd would love to see on pole here in about 11 and a bit minutes time, but for you, Jenson Button, who does look the likely candidate? Is it Max Verstappen?
It's easy to say Max. You know, all weekend he's been super strong. But Lewis, you know, he will be closer. He's not 7/10 a lap slow around here, and the car isn't either. So I'm looking forward to him having a bit more pace and pushing Max a bit harder. But this is such a weird moment for drivers. You know, they've had such a long break between Q2 and Q3. The adrenaline is already through the roof, but this just heightens it like you wouldn't believe. So they're going to be quite stressed. Their bodies mentally they're going to be quite stressed, and you know, all adds up to an exciting Q3, I think.
And if you've got a Sky Q box, you can press the red button and watch the highlights of this qualifying session so far, alongside the live pictures from Q3. And with the clock ticking down, it's time to get some cars out on the track. And who's going out there quite early on? Max Verstappen, already on the track, Daniel Ricciardo and Antonio Giovinazzi. But as Christian Horner said, get that banker lap in. You've got to be in it to win it, and they're sending Verstappen out a lot earlier than they normally would.
Yeah, I think it's because they do have that advantage, that pace advantage they have had all the way through qualifying. So doing complete, it's the right thing. That the issue is when it gets to the second run in Q3,
yeah.
Do they wait until the last moment? We'll have to wait and see.
Because these are the provisional laps. This is the insurance policy, as it were, for a little bit later on. Look at this, because it's such a short lap, we see gaps being built from the pit lane exit onwards. Don't often see that here.
No, and you need to look at Daniel. Daniel's halfway around the lap already. He has a really big chance of catching them when he's on his flying lap and they're on their warming up lap.
Ricciardo was the first driver out of the pits after out-qualifying Lando Norris for the second straight race. Norris leading the way in Q1 and Q2 at Spa, and then had that big accident at the start of Q3. Verstappen, the only driver to start in the top 3 at every race this season. In fact, he's the only driver to start in the top 5 at every race this season. And he has taken pole in 5 of the last 6 races. And he is... Look, it's a windy enough day without all the waving that's going on in the grandstands as well. There's probably a freak gust coming from the grandstand, trying to warm up his tyres. Track temperature 35 degrees, air temperature round about 20 degrees. It is a beautiful day by the seaside here in Zandvoort, but what's Max Verstappen got then? Can he put his car on provisional pole? Here he is with Jenson Button.
Into turn 1. Lovely line, sorry, we should say Tarzan. Up on the exit of Tarzan, over the curb, using all the track through here. Turn 2, into turn 3. He's so aggressive on the entry there. Fantastic, good exit, good traction. And now it's just waiting for that long right-hander. Going up through the gears, trying to get everything just perfect through there. There'll be a little lift on the way here, touching the white line at the apex, using most of the road on the exit. Through the right here, a little bit of understeer there. That's probably down to the wind. And then the slower corner, missed the apex tiny bit, but he's going to move the car over to the right very quickly. A little bit of understeer on the entrance, doesn't even hit the apex there. Don't know if you need to. DRS zone now, fully open, full power, heavily braking for the chicane. He gets it turned in nicely. A little bit of rear movement on the entry, yeah, he's pushing hard. A little bit of rear movement there. Second to last corner, it's twitchy, and we've seen with Max when the car's a little bit twitchy, he is super fast, and I think we're going to see that right now.
No Dutch driver has ever started higher than 14th for a Dutch Grand Prix. Max Verstappen in the 1 minute 8 seconds, and that has delighted the Dutch crowd here. He was a couple of tenths up on both Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton through the first sector. He was 2 tenths up on Valtteri Bottas through the middle sector. He was a 10th up on this man, Lewis Hamilton, through the middle sector, pushing Max Verstappen and maybe pushing Mercedes to places they just can't go here, because Valtteri Bottas finishes 3 tenths behind Verstappen as we watch Hamilton coming off the banking and the final corner. Is he the man that can deny Verstappen pole? Not on this evidence. He's 3 and a bit tenths off Verstappen, and he's behind his teammate Valtteri Bottas, who, by the way, is the only man ever to win the F3 Masters at Zandvoort in consecutive years. It's a track he likes. Leclerc goes 4th fastest, puts that Ferrari on the second row, and ahead of Alonso, Giovinazzi, Ricciardo and Ocon, as now Carlos Sainz goes 5th fastest, a second off the pace, and Pierre Gasly crosses the line as the last driver to complete his first lap in Q3 and goes 4th fastest. And once again, it's another storming lap that's worthy of a cheer, let alone a polite ripple of applause from the AlphaTauri garage from Pierre Gasly.
Super impressive lap by Pierre Gasly. But looking at Lewis's lap, he did have a couple of snaps on exits, which would have cost him a bit of time. There isn't a lot you can do, obviously, once you're into qualifying, but he will be playing around with different settings to try and help that rear on an exits. And there's more time to come from Lewis, I think.
He is the first man, Max Verstappen, to put his car into the 1 minute 8s here at Zandvoort this weekend. It's a big margin of 3.5 tenths. More time to come from Lewis, but that's quite a lot of time.
It is a big margin, and yeah, Max's lap wasn't perfect either. No, he was pushing that car very hard, but the times will get quicker for everyone in this next session. They had a lot of downtime before this run, but they'll be heading out pretty soon, and I think they're probably all going to pick up sort of 2 to 3 tenths.
The good news for Mercedes, who lead the Constructors' Championship going into this race, is that they've got 2 cars, second and third, in the top 3.
And there's a big gap to P4. You know, there's another 4 tenths behind Lewis back to Pierre Gasly. So that's quite a big margin. We didn't see that through Q1 and Q2, but they're obviously pushing the car a little bit more than Mercedes and the Red Bull. Because the big thing that Red Bull have got, and there's nothing they can do about this, is that Sergio Perez is going to be way out of the fight at the sharp end because he's only 16th on the grid. And nothing Red Bull can do about that. So Verstappen will go into his home race with the support of the fans, but not the support of his teammate, and that could have huge consequences. It does when it comes to the pit stop, because they might, I mean, if it finishes in this order, we don't know that yet, but if Bottas pits early, it's going to drag Max early, and then Lewis might be able to go long on his stint and be stronger at the end of the race on a fresher set of tyres. So who knows? But first of all, we've got to see who are the top 3 going into the race tomorrow.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, Ted Kravitz, with 5 minutes to go.
Can't wait, as George Russell reminded us. What is it, 72 laps tomorrow, Crofty?
Oh, yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo, anything could happen, and probably will. Further down the order, great recovery from Carlos Sainz. Let's just underline that. A 109.8, the same as Charles Leclerc. I mean, not exactly the same, that's why Charles Leclerc is in front of him. Leclerc 8.45, Sainz 8.71, but great recovery considering that he didn't have that. He lost that time after that crash. And obviously, whether that car is set up perfectly or not, it's working well for Carlos Sainz. Really impressive.
It certainly is. Finished in the top 3 in Hungary did Carlos Sainz, promoted to 3rd, second time in his career out of his 4 podium finishes he's not been able to stand on the podium. You know what that's like, didn't you? You get promoted onto a podium once after a race?
I did, yes. Where was that? It was Melbourne.
Yes.
2014.
When did you get the trophy?
I got it when I went to McLaren, when I went into the factory. It was a few weeks later.
Because they have to get it off another team to then...
Exactly. You imagine that feeling, handing it over.
Last I heard, the second place trophy was still in the custody of Aston Martin from Hungary. And as I passed the back of the Aston Martin motorhome just a couple of days ago, the bottle of bubbly that is opened on the podium is still there as well.
I wonder if they're going to make a replica and hand that one over.
I was Sebastian, but I just keep the trophy. Hope that no one notices on that one. A bit like Martin Brundle did after Detroit all those years ago. Right, 3 minutes to go. Cars coming back out onto the track again. Ferrari in a good position here, and in their fight with McLaren in the Constructors' Championship in a very good position, 5th and 6th. AlphaTauri with Pierre Gasly once again. Super run by Pierre Gasly, currently on the 2nd row. Giovinazzi ahead of Ricciardo and Ocon after that first run. They obviously fixed the brake drum issue with that big hammer during the red flag.
When in doubt,
give it the big hammer treatment. And look at that, previous poles, Prost, Arnoux, Piquet, the last man to take pole here in Zandvoort. Some great names have taken victory here.
Well, this is standing still on the pit exit.
Yeah, and they're trying to build a gap. I'm not sure that's what the rules really should be allowing, JB.
But that was a seriously long hold.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to have to be careful to get round for the start of the next lap. I know it's a short lap, but at that speed it takes a lot longer. And look at that crowd. Isn't it wonderful?
There's a big block of seats there that aren't being filled.
It doesn't matter where you are in the world or where the fans are from in the world, but to have that many people come and watch a Formula One race and enjoy this atmosphere, be part of the atmosphere, it's pretty special.
Yeah, they said don't bring flares. I don't think that memo got through, and the drivers don't like the smoke that billows around the track. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, so it's Alonso holding everybody up. This is going to be touch and go for Hamilton. Hamilton's last on track, Crofty, leading the pits. It's going to be tight for him to get his lap started.
Well, he's got a minute and a half. The thing is, he might need to get more of a move on than he would normally want to, which might take a little bit of the juice out of his tyres. So whilst Verstappen might have been earned, it could work to his advantage.
Yeah, he's still got a minute and 25. I think he'll be fine, but it just is that extra stretch you do not need going into your last run in Q3.
There is Lewis Hamilton making his way around Skyflock at the moment and down towards turn 8 where Nicholas Latifi had his accident. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen is on the run down to the chicane at turn 11. He'll easily get to the line before the checkered flag in a minute's time.
The bigger issue is Leclerc is on his lap and he's catching Hamilton. He's only 3 corners behind Lewis right now. So Lewis is going to have to move offline.
And a 24.1 and a 24.2 for the two Ferraris through the first sector, which is decent sector times, might challenge Pierre Gasly for 4th at this rate as Verstappen starts his final flying lap. Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo are the 3 that haven't started their flying lap as yet. Hamilton might get caught by Leclerc going through the final corner as Verstappen continues on his way and takes that high line around the banking at turn 3. A slingshot on the exit out towards turn 4, and a nice fast-flowing S's section as we can watch Lewis Hamilton going round the banking. Leclerc finishes his lap, goes 4th fastest. Hamilton gets to the line with about 8 seconds to spare, so it's going to be right down to the last gasps for Verstappen to see if he's got pole here, and he's going to have to be waiting a long time for the Mercedes to cross the line. Checkered flag is out as Pierre Gasly goes 4th fastest, retakes that position on the second row. That is a super performance from him. Ferrari 5th and 6th, Esteban Ocon goes 7th fastest. Verstappen's going quicker through that middle sector. Roar of approval from the fans as they see that one, and they rise to acclaim Max Verstappen here as Giovinazzi goes 7th fastest, and that's a super qualifying performance from him. Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton seem to be the only 2 that can deny Max Verstappen, who might yet go quicker than his provisional pole time. Guess what? He does. Verstappen's on pole here in Zandvoort. There's the Mercedes of Bottas and Hamilton who can try and deny him his first pole position in his home Grand Prix. Now on the banking we go with Valtteri Bottas, who knows what it's like in the junior formula to have success here, but at the moment Bottas can only make 2nd place on the grid. Can Hamilton deny Max Verstappen? The 2 championship protagonists battling in qualifying. Hamilton is alongside Max Verstappen on the front row for what will be the 6th time in 2021, but the celebrations here in Zandvoort for the home favourite Max Verstappen. No one can deny him pole, and by 3/100ths of a second he takes it over Hamilton.
Oh, beautiful lap, and I have to say, what an amazing job for Lewis. What a fantastic lap to be 300ths away from pole position after the weekend he's had.
That is pole position, mate. Pole position, home Grand Prix. Really proud of you, nice job.
Yes, guys, unbelievable. What a great car today. It was unbelievable. We're just flying. Thank you so much.
The 2 best in the world on the front row of the grid, split by 300ths. What a year we are having with these 2 fighting out in the front. And tomorrow, super excited about the race tomorrow.
Yeah, you and me both. Whatever you're doing tomorrow, cancel your plans now. Spend it in the company with Jensen Button and myself and the Sky Sports F1 team, because this could be another absolute thriller. 6th time this season they've started on the front row. We've seen them battling in lap 1. We've seen them coming together in lap 1. We don't know how this race is going to pan out. The teams don't know, because we haven't been to Zandvoort for 36 years. What we do know is the 2 fastest drivers on the grid and the 2 best drivers on the grid are going to be starting alongside each other, and he is going to be roared on by 70,000 Dutch fans who are enjoying their afternoon in the sunshine on Saturday, but the points get dished out on a Sunday.
Exactly. We have 2 other standouts for me. Pierre Gasly, P4, and Giovinazzi, P7. What a fantastic job by him.
He went ahead of Ocon, Alonso and Daniel Ricciardo as well. Antonio Giovinazzi lining up P7 on the grid. That is his best ever qualifying performance in Formula 1. This man takes his 10th pole in Formula 1. Max Verstappen, wow, he's done it again. Hamilton threw down whatever he could to try and deny him, but in the end, 3/100ths of a second, nearly 4/100ths of a second between the 2 drivers was all that separated Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Lewis had a great last sector. He took well, 1.8 tenths off out of Max in that last sector. Super strong. It was just the first sector that let him down, but he should be pretty happy with himself after the weekend he's had so far, to be that close to Max Verstappen. And Max has been so strong around this track.
6th pole in the last 7 races for Max Verstappen. And as I said, sharing the front row with Hamilton for the 6th time in 2021. Wow. I can't wait for tomorrow now. I'm barely going to sleep tonight, and I'm not even driving the cars.
It's amazing how exciting that was. I actually get more adrenaline watching Q3 than I did when I was driving. Maybe there was something wrong there, but yeah, it's lovely watching these guys go at it and pushing these cars to the limit around such a wonderful circuit.
And a fist bump there for the 2 drivers sharing the front row, and from Hamilton to Valtteri Bottas as well. I hope that Max Verstappen can hear the questions that are going to be asked to him in a moment. Guido van der Garde is here this weekend. Of course he is. The 2nd most famous Dutch driver. He's going to be asking the questions now to Max Verstappen.
Wow, Max Verstappen, pole position on your home crowd. This must be really, really special, huh?
It's an amazing feeling, of course, to get pole position here. I mean, yeah, the crowd is incredible, and today was also very enjoyable. I mean, the car was really nice to drive, and this track as well in qualifying, once the fuel comes out, it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd is crazy. You see all orange. It's enjoyable, I guess, for you, but what do you think about the race for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's of course the best starting position. We know passing is difficult. I don't expect it to be an easy race. A lot of laps around here. The tires are struggling through the high speed. But yeah, today was good, so I hope we can, of course, finish it off tomorrow.
Perfect. Well, enjoy it, and good luck tomorrow. Wow, Lewis, that was close, on the end.
So close. So close.
Come on, guys.
First,
come on.
First, I just want to say a big thank you to. I really want to say a big thank you to all the Orange fans here. You know, the Dutch fans. What an amazing venue. What an amazing track. I really do generally love coming to this country, and I really appreciate the welcome. It's there's great sporting fans here, and I love how it's just been good. I really appreciate it. Max did an amazing lap, and I was so close to. I was trying to catch him, obviously with yesterday's session missed. Yeah. Made it a little bit difficult of a day, but I gave it absolutely everything, and yeah, he did a fantastic lap and deserves a pole.
Obviously, you were here 16 years ago in the Masters. You won the race. And what do you think about tomorrow's race? It's going to be a tough one.
That's going to be tough. It's a difficult circuit to overtake, but I mean, what a place for us to be racing. I think strategy will obviously come into it a lot. But we're going to see a crowd like this. I mean, we haven't seen a crowd like this in a while, so it's really, really great to see so many people here. And